right? He was talking with Alex Spire recently of the Boston Globe, saying that we need to raise the ceiling of the rotation. Now, coming into this year, everybody, we were very worried about the starting pitching. Remember last offseason how every one of us were on Twitter land and we were just, screaming from the high heavens how awful the rotation was. Do you remember that? Remember every day when I was posting on Twitter saying, man, the Red Sox really need Jordan Montgomery. We need it. We need Montgomery in this rotation. We need to go get Blake Snell. We need to go trade for Corbin Burns, where we were that desperate for something in the rotation. And we ended up not really getting anyone. We got Lucas Giolito, and then spring training. Remember going into spring training, we were still trying to find a slither of hope for the rotation. And then Lucas Giolito blew his arm out, and we're thinking, all right, how the heck are we going to do this year? And believe it or not, we ended up exceeding expectations just a little bit here. Who would have thought the Red Sox rotation would have done as well as they did this past year? Tanner Houck had a breakout year, huge season for him, and obviously the guy that came into the fold after Craig Breslow, Andrew Bailey. He was an absolute godsend for the Red Sox this year. Fantastic bringing him in. And really what they did was focus just on the strengths of the pitchers. Really nothing crazy. Maybe they worked in the lab a little bit on some things, maybe some different grips, different arm angles, stuff like that. But really they focused on the strengths. Like Tanner Houck really focused on the sweeper this year, kind of got away from the fastballs, and, he's just kind of using what he's good at, and he got a breakout year. Now, Brian Bayo, we were all kind of waiting for Brian Bayo to take, a big step forward over the last couple of years, and he just hasn't really done that. I just think we're looking at yet is the key word with him. Brian Bayo, when you watch him, you see a lot of good things. He passes the eye test. It's just a matter, I think, of putting it together, using pitches in the right sequences. I think he's close. I think he's going to be there soon. And we did see some flashes of brilliance with Brian Bayo this past year. But overall, not an amazing season for him. Cutter Crawford, he showed some good things this year too, but he got bit by the home run ball quite a bit this past year. I've even seen some people on Twitter land even suggesting trading Cutter Crawford. I remember last offseason, everyone was talking about how Cutter Crawford was going to be the most underrated guy going into this year. And that was looking true in the first half. And then the second half, he started just giving up meatballs left and right. You saw Richard Fitz, right? Cup of coffee at the end. He did look pretty solid. Cooper Criswell, the $1 million man, right? He looked pretty solid as well. Nick Pivetta, he's over the last couple of years, went back to the bullpen a little bit. He's had a couple of clunkers here and there, but Nick Pivetta was a guy that for the most part, pretty steady, a guy that you can count on, but who knows if he comes back at this point. I've seen a lot of people out there saying, Nick Pivetta there's no way he turns down that qualifying offer. Well, you got to think here with Nick Pivetta. This is a guy, he's thrown a lot of good innings over the last few years. He actually ranks in the top 25 in innings pitched going back over the last few years. So he is a guy that he can be a dependable arm in your rotation. It's just a matter of maybe getting a little bit more out of him. And teams reportedly think with Nick Pivetta, maybe they could get a guy that's like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 wins above replacement guy. So I see people out there saying there's no way he turns down $20 million. Well, I'll actually push back against that. I think there's a very real chance Pivetta could go out there, get at least, a 3-year deal, maybe $55, $60 million. So I would not fully expect Pivetta to come back on a 1-year, 21, whatever the amount is, $21 million, I believe. I do expect Pivetta to go elsewhere because I think teams out there will give him a multi-year deal. And good on the Red Sox for offering the qualifying offer, because even if he does come back, right, you're going to get some innings in the rotation. But if he leaves, you get the draft pick compensation. So good move on the Red Sox, in my opinion. However, getting back to the original story here, Craig Breslow wants to raise the ceiling of the rotation. Well, pretty much, yes, the Red Sox at this point, they have a floor in the rotation. They have a pretty high floor at this point, I would say. Now you really need to boost it, right? You need to go out there. You need to go look for some guys. If we're looking at some guys on the free agent market, right? You got the usual suspects that we keep hearing about. Corbin Burns, you got Max Fried, even someone like Jack Flaherty, who just helped the Dodgers win a World Series, Blake Snell, right? Even some mid-tier guys, Sean Manaea has been a name that's been floating around out there. I think in the end, though, the Red Sox, when it comes to raising the ceiling of the rotation, you got the floor already, but you need to bring in a guy like Corbin Burns or Max Fried. Or, maybe you could even make a case for Blake Snell. The one problem with Blake Snell is he tends to be a bit inconsistent, right? Even this year, right? Horrible in the first half, but then the guy was an absolute magician in the second half. So what Blake Snell can do when everything is right. Go back a couple of years ago, he won the Cy Young, but the walk rate was really high with him. So I could see the case for Blake Snell being a guy, right? But I think free agent-wise, you're looking at Burns or Fried. Those are the top candidates that I would love for the Red Sox to bring in. Now, the question is, ladies and gentlemen, will John Henry sign off? And we've all had our opinions about John Henry over the last few years, but the one constant with John Henry, if you go all the way back, 2004, the one thing you have seen, it's not just recent years, you can sit there and say, John Henry, he doesn't want to spend the money. You go back all the way to when he first became the owner, rarely has he signed off on a deal, a long-term deal for a pitcher, right? Yes, lots of short-term deals in there. John Lackey is probably the most notable one, where you look at it as a guy that was very successful, well, at least help you win a World Series. Lackey definitely had his moments, right? Beer and chicken, my goodness, I don't want to talk about the beer and the chicken. But John Lackey was a guy that, helped you win a World Series in 2013. But when you think about long contracts, the only one really is David Price. Yes, he helped you win a World Series in 2018. But the money that you paid that guy really was not worth it. The World Series, yes, obviously. But when you're looking at it in just terms of value and, just pure economics, it was not a good contract overall. John Henry, go back to Pedro Martinez, right? They did not want to extend Pedro Martinez in 2004, right? They let him go to the Mets. And that's just how it is, right? John Henry is very iffy of those deals for the pitchers. So I wonder if he would be willing to sign off on someone like Corbin Burns. I could maybe see Max Fried, because this is a situation here where you got a need at the top of the rotation, and there's not really any immediate reinforcements. And we'll get to one guy in just a second here, but if there is someone that you would spend the money, I would probably say Max Fried. He's going to be far cheaper than Corbin Burns. You're probably looking at around $32 million per year for Corbin Burns, even more possibly. Max Fried, you're going to be looking at something around $24, $25, $26 million per year. I wonder if he even gets to 26. Max Fried is a solid guy. Really, if you were to put Fried in this rotation, I think Houck and Fried, you would look at them at like a 1A and a 1B, in my opinion. Now, Burns, I think, would be the clear-cut number one there. So we'll just have to wait and see if the Red Sox approach this in the free agent market. But again, they are looking to raise the ceiling. Now, the guy that I think they're going to be really going full throttle for is Garrett Crochet. Mr. Garrett Crochet. He's been all the talk lately in Red Sox land. And listen, now think about what I just said. The Red Sox usually don't go after those long-term deals for pitchers. And you can make a good argument against it, right? Because usually, more often than not, they tend not to be great contracts. You usually try to get the most out of the first few years of that kind of a contract, but historically, they tend not to age well. That's why the Red Sox, go back however long now, they like to go for the trades, right? Many, many trades over the years. Probably the first most notable one, well, Pedro Martinez was before John Henry came into the fold. But you look at a guy like Curt Schilling, right? He came over and he was huge in 2004, right? Also helped you win in 2007. You look at Josh Beckett. They brought him in after the 2005 season. Helped you win a World Series in 2007. You look at Chris Sale most recently. You brought him in. You gave up a couple of top prospects in Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech. There's many guys, right? I mean, you could also look at Jake Peavy. He was a trade deadline pickup. But I'm looking at guys that are more those aces at the top of the rotation. Garrett Crochet right now fits that mold, and I think the Red Sox are absolutely going to be big players for Garrett Crochet, and it looks like they're already in the thick of things here. Now, if we take a look when it comes to Mr. Garrett Crochet, now let me actually pull up here because I had the article pulled up. My potato brain clicked out of it by accident. But Sean McAdam of Mass Live said here that the Red Sox are in the thick of Garrett Crochet trade talks. And listen, I'm not surprised about it. Now, the one thing I have speculated about when it comes to a possible Garrett Crochet trade is, will the Red Sox be willing to give him a fair contract extent if they were to land him? First off, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just, play make-believe here for a second. Hypothetically speaking, let's say they land Garrett Crochet. Will they give him a good extension, a fair extension, right? And I would imagine for Garrett Crochet, I'll be completely honest, I think it has to be at least $20 million per year, right? He's 25, going to be 26 soon. Because let me pull up Mr. Crochet. Let's pull up the numbers here. And the reason I think he's got to be at least $20 million per year, because he just put up a 4.7 F4 in his first season as a starter. 4 wins is worth $32 million. Now, because of the lack of track record, you just don't know what he's going to give you moving forward, right? He had the Tommy John not too long ago, so there is going to be some question marks. So I think you have to start at least $20 million. And to be honest, that's probably way too low. I think you even got to probably start at $25 million per year. I would say something like a 4-year, $100 million deal for Garrett Crochet. I think that's pretty fair. And that would run him through. So right now he is 25. He'll turn 26 in 2025. So I would say at least a 4-year deal to when he's 29 years old, maybe a 5-year deal when he's 30, and then he can go into free agency then. I think no matter what, if you get Garrett Crochet, you got to extend the guy. And I just wonder, just based off of the spending with the Red Sox, will they be willing to throw down the big bucks for Garrett Crochet? I just wonder about that. And even if they are, will they be willing to give him an offer that he can't refuse, right? Because there's another thing too here is he is willing to sign an extension. He was willing to sign an extension at the trade deadline. Go back, right? The reason he stayed with the White Sox, the reason he ended up not getting traded at the trade deadline was because if a team wanted him to pitch in the postseason, he wanted to have a contract extension. He wanted to have long-term security because this is a guy that had already thrown as many innings as he had in his entire life. So yeah, he wanted to have some security. Can't blame him for that. But again, he was willing to sign an extension with the team. So I would imagine that's going to be the same case now. And he would still be able to go into free agency when he's 29, 30 years old if you gave him a 4 or 5 year deal. So I think the Red Sox, they're going to not just have to trade for Garrett Crochet, but I think they're going to have to step it up in terms of getting him signed to an extension, which I think makes a lot of sense because they're going into a competitive window now. And to have a guy like him in the fold for the next 4 or so years, I think it makes all the sense in the world. But now you got to get the trade first off, right? You got to pull off the trade first. And so reportedly, Chris Getz, he was talking to Bruce Levine of 670 The Score, saying he wants position players in a trade, which makes a lot of sense. The White Sox, they already have good pitching in that organization. You got Noah Schultz, one of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball. You got Hagen Smith, who you just got in the draft this past year. They are pretty set when it comes to pitching. They got a few other guys there. Don't forget that they got Drew Thorpe, right? They got him back in the Juan Soto trade. So yeah, not Drew. No. Yes, they got him. Yes. No, wait. Who? I'm going blank. I'm going completely blank right now. Did they? Yes. Never. Anyway, but the White Sox, they're pretty set on the pitching side of things. They need bats. They need impact bats. You got Colson Montgomery in there, right? But with Colson Montgomery, This is a guy that struggled this past year. He did not have a good year. This is a highly touted prospect for them. He was doing very well in the minor leagues before this year. He had some injuries, so it looked like he was still trying to get himself right after that. He did heat up in the final month, but let's see, where he goes. Either way, even if he gets himself right, they need more guys there. You got Edgar Cuero there, but is he really a guy that's a centerpiece, that you build around, build a lineup around? No, he's going to be a pretty decent offensive catcher for the most part. They need bats, but the Red Sox got plenty of those. They got plenty of those, especially guys that are getting close to Major League ready. You got the big four. You got Roman Anthony. You got Marcelo Meyer. You got Christian Campbell. You got Kyle Teal. Now, when it comes to the big four, I have talked about this in a few videos that I've already made on this channel. I don't think Roman Anthony is going to get moved. I just don't think he's going to be the guy. I just don't. He's the number one prospect in Major League Baseball, on Baseball America, high projection. This is a guy that I don't think the Red Sox want to get rid of. And I've read a report out there, too, that they've made it clear that they're not going to be moving him. Now you go down here. You got Marcelo Meyer. Marcelo Meyer is an interesting one because you already have a lot of middle infield depth. Now, obviously, Marcelo Meyer is, I think, going to be a very solid shortstop for the future. He gets a lot of comps to Corey Seager with the bat. Once he grows more into that frame and, he gets in the weight room and he really starts to just put on a bit of size, I think Marcelo Meyer could be a scary offensive player down the road and just a good shortstop overall. But with Marcelo Meyer and the Red Sox, like I said, you got the middle infield depth. You got Trevor Story for the next few years. Yes, he has to stay healthy. I know. But you still got him under contract. You got a guy like Franklin Arias here. You got a guy down a little further like Mikey Romero, who you got in the draft not too long ago. He had a pretty good season. You got some other middle infielders here. Chase Maydrop, not going to be a shortstop, but still, he can play the middle infield for the most part. So they got options here, right? Even someone like Cedane Rafaela can play shortstop. Yes, the better position for him is center, but he can play short. So I wonder if Marcelo Meyer could be a guy that you include in a trade. Now, the problem is here. The problem with Marcelo Meyer in a Garrett Crochet trade. Marcelo Meyer has more value. I know that sounds a little weird, right? You're thinking, well, what do you mean? How does Marcelo Meyer have more value than a stud like Garrett Crochet? Well, here's the thing. Garrett Crochet is only under control for 2 more years. Marcelo Meyer is a top 10 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, and he plays the highest valued position in baseball, shortstop, right? You build teams around shortstops because usually shortstops tend to be the most well-rounded athlete on your team. They move well in the field, but they also usually, for the most part, have a good IQ out there, right? Look at Jackson Merrill, perfect example. Was a shortstop. He went out and played center field, handled it completely fine, right? Marcelo Meyer has a lot of value. And when you take a look at the values here, when it comes to a trade like this, you're pretty far apart here. So I don't think, I don't know, at least as of right now, I don't think Marcelo Meyer would be the guy that you trade for Garrett Crochet. Maybe, now one idea, and I don't think this happens. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not saying this is going to happen. And I don't think it even probably should happen. But if the Whites, again, it already sounds stupid to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you were to somehow maybe do some kind of a package deal with Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert. I wonder about Luis Robert for this offseason, by the way. I do wonder because I wonder, yes, the White Sox, they want to get as much back for him as they can. But he's had a lot of injuries. He had a bad season this year, I think most notably because of the injuries. But I just wonder, how long do the White Sox want to try and hang on to this guy who just finds ways to just get injured all the time? I wonder if they think maybe they got to pull the trigger on a deal with him and just move on now while they can, but and not risk him getting hurt again. I just wonder. I wonder if Luis Robert could be a guy that the Red Sox could maybe pursue this offseason if they don't end up landing Teoscar Hernandez or bring back Tyler O'Neill. Just saying. But I think with Marcelo Meyer, basically my point here is I don't think you can really do a deal with Crochet and Meyer. It just doesn't, in my opinion, make a whole lot of sense. Now, if you were to look at possibly someone like Christian Campbell. Now, I actually think the Red Sox, just like Roman Anthony, I think they really want to keep Christian Campbell. Christian Campbell is a guy that kind of exemplifies what the Red Sox like. A right-handed bat, right? Now, they like left-handed bats too, but my point is with Christian Campbell, kind of in a way, kind of reminds me of Mookie in a way, almost like a bigger Mookie Betts, if that makes sense, right? He's got just an explosive bat. He moves in the field well. He plays multiple positions. In a way, kind of reminds me of Mookie. Just a bigger guy, if that makes sense. This guy just had a ridiculous year. I think the Red Sox really value him, and I think they would love to keep him around for the long haul. Because again, you can play him in the infield. You can go put him out in left, whatever it may be. I think Christian Campbell is a guy they really want to keep. I'll get back to him in just a second. And Kyle Teal, I just think they want to keep him too because good catchers are hard to come by, right? I mean, right now, all they got is Connor Wong at this point. I'm just saying. Kyle Teal, he's just really a guy that, it's a scarce position. So out of all four of these guys, I feel like Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell would be the guys that you would look at if you're going to be dealing prospects in a trade for Garrett Crochet. Now, if I were to go back here, if I were to take out Meyer and I put in Christian Campbell. Now, because Christian Campbell doesn't have too much of a track record, you're not seeing an extremely high value with him. I do think if he keeps it up going into 2025, I think you're going to see that value just completely shoot up. Completely. Just it might seem a little low now, but it's just because of the track record, right? You just need a bit more there. A great year, just saying. But I definitely think Christian Campbell could be the centerpiece of a deal. Would be the centerpiece, right? Just because he just had so much. He was so good. He was just so good this year. He had, what's the word I'm looking for? He had a lot of helium this year, right? So I think he would be a guy that you could deal here for Garrett Crochet, a guy that could be a high impact player for you for the White Sox down the road. We'll see. However, the one guy that I think the Red Sox would love to part with in a deal like this would be Wilyer Abreu. Now, when it comes to trades, it's easy for you to make your own trade and say, oh, we'll just do this player, this player, this player. You got to think about the other team too. Would the White Sox want Wilyer Abreu? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. There's a lot of good things with Wilyer Abreu, coming off a great rookie season. Good offensively, very good defensively. However, he is limited to really right-handed pitching at this point. Has platoon risk there. Did not do very well against left-handed pitching this year. He could definitely figure it out, right? But he just hasn't really shown it yet. Another thing with Wilyer Abreu is he has a lot of control, a lot of club control. 5 more seasons of it, right? So for the White Sox, let's say maybe they think they're 2 years away, right? They need 25 and 26 to really put it together. 2027 is when they expect to be back. Well, so Wilyer Abreu at that point, he's still going to have a couple more years of control. So Wilyer Abreu, would he be a piece that the White Sox would want? I would say Wilyer Abreu at this point is more of a floor player. Right now, at least. Could he get better? Could he get better against the left-handed pitching? Sure. Why not? I mean, guys can always improve. Go into the offseason, spring training, work out some stuff, and maybe he ends up being a pretty well-rounded player. But right now, I would say there is platoon risk there, and I'd say there's just more of a floor. So I don't know. I don't know if the White Sox would want him to be the centerpiece. I think they would much rather have Christian Campbell. If I'm looking at it from both ways, yeah, from a Red Sox fan's point of view, please, for the love of me, take Wilyer Abreu. I mean, I love Wilyer Abreu. I think the guy's awesome. But please, for Garrett Crochet, I will drop to my knees in a Walmart and cry tears of joy if the White Sox took Wilyer Abreu. No offense to Wilyer Abreu. I love the guy. But they're trying to get rid of lefty bats. Oh, it just checks off so many boxes if you could include him in a deal. Now, it won't just be Wilyer Abreu. right? And this is a chance where if he could be the centerpiece, you would not have to part with any of the big four. Could you imagine landing Garrett Crochet and you didn't have to part with any of the big four? Oh, and then you sign Garrett Crochet to an extension? Oh, and you get to keep your top four? I mean, come on. That is just amazing to me. But you could build a pretty solid package around Willie Abreu. You can just kind of start naming some guys here. Franklin Arias, a great season in the minor leagues this year. Could be a decent shortstop down the road. Yoelin Cespedes, he was looking pretty good this year until his hand broke. And he's got a lot of upside. So right here, yeah, you are getting pretty high here in terms of value. But listen, I'll make this argument. I would much rather overpay for Garrett Crochet. I know that just rhymed. I would rather overpay in a situation like this because you get to keep the big four. I would gladly overpay with Abreu, Arias, Cespedes. Absolutely. All day, every day. I would. In terms of number value, yeah, I would absolutely do this if you're asking me. I would even throw in a couple more. Take, maybe, I don't know, Blaze Jordan. I like me Blaze Jordan. I would love for that guy to do big things with the Red Sox, but if that's what it took, I'm doing it. And, to me, again, I would love this package. Would the White Sox want this, though? I'm not sure. That's the only problem. You always got to look at it from both sides. We'll just have to wait and see how this turns out. But I definitely think here the Red Sox are going to be big players for Garrett Crochet. Let's move on here. We got another guy on the market. We were kind of touching on the free agents here, but let's touch on the Max Fried news. The Red Sox are connected to Max Fried, according to John Heyman, along with a couple of rivals in the American League East. You got the Blue Jays and the Orioles. The Orioles absolutely have an argument to go after Max Fried. Now, Corbin Burns, I think they would love to bring him back, but will they bring him back? I'm not so sure. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. You got new ownership there. Will they pay the big bucks to bring him in or to keep him in the rotation? I don't know. Or could you go for a bit of a cheaper option in Max Fried? I could see the Orioles being very motivated here, especially if Burns doesn't come back. Honestly, if you're looking at a rotation here for the Orioles, I know we're talking Red Sox. This is Fenway faithful, but we got to talk about the Orioles here. They're in the AL East, right? You got to talk about the rivals here. If you got a rotation of Fried, Eflin, and Grayson Rodriguez, I think that's pretty good. Right? I mean, I think that's pretty solid, if you ask me. And you got some, depth with Kramer and Suarez and Rogers. I think that's pretty good. And the Blue Jays, listen, I think a lot of us are kind of in our minds, like in the back of our heads, are starting to write the Blue Jays off. I'm not writing the Blue Jays off. I mean, listen, if they have a pretty good offseason here, they're right back in the fold, right? Add a couple of bats. Maybe bring in someone like Fried, who I think would be a pretty nice upgrade for this rotation. That would give them a different look. You would have Gausman, Fried, Berrios. I think that's very solid, right? And you got a couple of guys like Yariel Rodriguez, Bowden Francis emerged this year. I think that's pretty good. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of competition for Fried. And, I keep seeing, the old, Max Fried, he wants to go out west. He wants to go, out to California, right? He's got family out there, supposedly. Here's the thing. Now, yeah, absolutely. If Max Fried wants to go back out west, all right. Hey, man, personal lives, that matters. That absolutely matters. But I'm looking at it from the point of view, which team is going to want to put on the full court press for Max Fried out west? We always look at the Dodgers, right? Believe he was a Dodgers fan growing up. Here's the thing with the Dodgers. You just brought in Yamamoto last offseason. You traded for Tyler Glasnow, and you extended him. Shohei Ohtani's going to be back on the mound. At least I think. I guess there was something, he had to get something done with the arm again. I don't know what's going on with that. I would imagine Ohtani is going to be he's going to be pitching opening day for the Dodgers in 2025. Are they going to shell out more money for Max Fried? They already have a lot of guys there, right? Like I said, Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow. But you got some guys coming back. Tony Gonsolin. Right? Emmett Sheehan's going to be coming back. You got Landon Knack there. Clayton Kershaw will probably go again, right? So are they going to throw another big contract at someone like Fried? And realistically, Fried is going to be a fourth starter for them. That's crazy. Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Fried? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't... Sure, it's the Dodgers. They can do whatever the heck they want. Are they going to want to give him that contract? A 5-6 year deal. Are they going to want to? I don't know. I look at a team like the Padres. Budget has been a thing for them over the last couple of years. So I don't know if the Padres are going to be doing that. The Giants, reports are they're looking to reduce some payroll. Are they going to give a contract to Max Fried? The Angels. I mean, sure, maybe the Angels. But will he want to go to the Angels? I don't know. That organization looks like a mess right now. I mean, what team out west is going to bring him in? What team in California is going to bring him in? That's what I wonder about. I always, you see so many people all the time say, oh, he's going to go west. He wants to go west. Does a team want him? You got to, takes two to tango at the end of the day. This is where I think you could see some teams in the East really go for it here. And I can see the Red Sox being very motivated. I think Max Fried is a great fit. I feel like he's a guy that you could really get even a bit more out of, right? I think you can, if you take a look at the pitch values with Max Fried, they've dropped a little bit. I feel like the Red Sox could make a couple of tweaks with him, and you could even get him to a next level. I think with Fried, I don't know. I look at Fried almost like, I think you could say he's an ace, but I think you could say he's more of like a 1A, 1B kind of an ace, right? He's not like a clear cut. He's a guy that's top of the rotation, but is he, bona fide ace? I don't know. I think he's more of a 1A, 1B kind of a guy. But I think the Red Sox maybe think they could make him a bona fide ace, right? He's got good stuff. He's very, very consistent in his career. We'll just have to wait and see here, but there is going to be some competition for Fried. I do think Garrett Crochet is going to be target number one, but if they don't land him, and there is going to be competition for Garrett Crochet. I mean, listen, we could talk how the Red Sox have great fits, but look out for the Mets. I think the Mets can be a great trade partner with the White Sox or Garrett Crochet. They got some prospects that are good offensive players. Guys like Jet Williams, right? You got guys like Ryan Clifford there. You got a few guys there. I'm going blank. Who's the other guy? I'm going blank. The number 2 prospect in their system. Not Ryan Clifford. Drew Gilbert, sorry. You got, you could do a package here with the Mets. They got some offensive players. Now, they are trying to rebuild this farm, so are they going to want to just gut their farm just like that? I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe even a team like the Cubs, they got some good offensive players at the top of the farm. Maybe they could pull off some kind of a deal. They go back to the Padres. So the Padres were going hard after Garrett Crochet at one point. They got a guy, maybe someone like a DeVries in their system. We'll see. But for Fried, no surprise here to see some other teams get in on the mix. Now, let's say the Red Sox, they don't get Garrett Crochet. They don't get Max Fried. They're swinging and missing for all these guys out there. There is a guy that just got posted. I don't know if you know him or not. His name's Roki Sasaki. He's pretty good. I don't know. He's not bad. Good velo. Good stuff. No, I'll take that back. This guy's, he's ridiculous. Roki Sasaki. Just go watch the highlights if you haven't already. High velo. Sits in the upper 90s. Carries it throughout an entire game. He holds the velo going deep into games. The splitter is absolutely disgusting with him. A stupid slider. Has a curveball as well. The guy is just a wizard. Roki Sasaki is awesome, right? Now, getting back to the Dodgers. Everyone says the Dodgers, number 1 team, far and away. They're going to get Roki Sasaki. And you can't argue with it. I mean, what's there to argue? You got Ohtani. You got Yamamoto. Just won a World Series. Great player development. I mean, they just seem to, right now, the Dodgers are just the kings of the land, right? Yeah, why wouldn't he go there? But I'm always a guy, I like to go against the grain. And this is not Giraffe Neck Robbie here. I know this is Fenway Faithful over here. But listen, I think other teams will have a shot at him. When you have with Yamamoto, it was different. Because you had to give the guy big bucks. Roki Sasaki is not going to get the big bucks. Roki Sasaki is going to be subjected to the international bonus pool because he's only 23 years old. You need to be at least 25, and you need to have at least 6 seasons of professional experience, and he only has 4. So he's going to be posted early. A lot of people thought the Marines were going to wait a couple of years to post him. That way he'll get a Yamamoto kind of a contract. Sasaki is basically going to be a minor league signing, right? He's going to be a minor league signing, and then they'll promote him to the major leagues on opening day, right? Just like Shohei Ohtani. But because of that, because he is subjected to the international bonus pool, every team has a chance. He can go talk with every single team if he wants to, and he gets to hear what each team has to say. At the end of the day, man, I think of almost like Yu Darvish back in the day. Who thought Yu Darvish was going to go sign with the Rangers? I mean, who saw that one coming? Everyone thought he was going to go to the Dodgers. Everyone thought he was going to go to the Padres, right? Everyone thought he was going to be a West Coast guy. No. They ended up going to the Rangers. Well, West Coast, but not California. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see Roki go somewhere else. And listen, I think the Red Sox have a good shot. Will they get him? I don't know. Who knows? No one knows. Right? However, scouts say that he would like to go possibly to a smaller market, right? That's what scouts say. That's not my opinion, right? That's been in the articles out there. I think Kylie McDaniel touched on it in a couple of articles with ESPN. So, well, now Boston is not a big market, or it is a big market, sorry. Could you say it's the market of, say, LA, with Ohtani, which stretches now out to Japan, with Yamamoto, of course. Now, Boston, I guess you could say, is a slightly smaller market than LA. Still a big market, though. I'm not saying that it's not. But Roki, I think the Red Sox have a good case to convince him, right? They've done a lot with the pitching development. They've completely revamped the pitching development, the pitching department ever since Craig Breslow came over, right? It's not just Andrew Bailey, but he's brought in guys, throughout the organization, right? They brought in Kyle Boddy, as an advisor, right? To, get these guys, get a pitching lab going there. That could be maybe something that entices Sasaki to go there, right? They have heavily invested into the pitching. There you go. All right, I think the Red Sox will have a seat at the table. Hey, they were talking with Yamamoto last offseason. So, Roki Sasaki, I don't see why they wouldn't have a chance here. But will he just go to the Dodgers? I don't know. I think the Padres could have a chance for him. AJ Preller's been hot after him. He has even stated his name at a Padres event. Yu Darvish and him are pretty close. I believe they have the same agent now, or I believe Darvish's agent is going to be Sasaki's agent. We'll see. But I think the Padres will have a good case. I think there's some smaller market teams that could maybe have a good case. If he wants to go somewhere that's not a big market, we'll see. But Roki Sasaki, going to be interesting. I'm excited for Roki Mania. I mean, I thought we were done after Yamamoto, but nope, not even close. Let's wrap this up, everyone, with one more story here. Teoscar Hernandez. I saw a lot of people, saying in the beginning of the offseason, no, we got to bring Tyler O'Neill back. Listen, though I looked at Tyler O'Neill going into the offseason, literally just, I thought, Adrian Beltre. Go back to 2010, Adrian Beltre, right? 1 year. He kind of needed a stop to get his career back on track. That's exactly what I see. I don't think Tyler O'Neill is going to be coming back. Sure, he had the good year this year, but O'Neill was limited to 113 games. It's not like he played a full season. He was still having injuries this year, right? He was dealing with the knee. He was having stuff going on. He wasn't perfect this year. He did hit for a lot of power, but, I just see the Red Sox maybe wanting to go after a guy that's, proven to be a bit more durable in his career, like Teoscar Hernandez. The Red Sox, Orioles, and Dodgers are interested in Teoscar Hernandez. And I've seen a lot of Dodgers fans out there, saying there's no way he does not come back to the Dodgers. I think he would like to go back to the Dodgers, right? You got to remember, yes, Teoscar, after they won the World Series, he had nothing but good things to say about the Dodgers. He said he would love to stay. When you're coming off a high like that, of course you're going to be saying stuff like that, right? Do the Dodgers want him back? I'm sure they do. But do they want him back at the terms that he's going to want? He just bet on himself this year. The guy had an amazing year. He went out there and he just did exactly what he had to do. He got a 1-year deal, had a great season with the Dodgers, won the home run derby, helped win a World Series. People are saying that even though Ohtani was the MVP of the league, Teoscar Hernandez was the MVP of the team because he brought a great presence into the clubhouse, right? He contributed in so many ways, not just on the field, but off the field, right? Good clubhouse presence. Again, though, when it comes to the money, when it comes to the value, will the Dodgers want to bring him back on the terms that he wants? I don't know. I would imagine he's going to want probably a 4-year deal, maybe even a 5-year deal. He's going to get as many years as he can. Do the Dodgers want to commit to that? Again, they've been spending a lot of money. At some point, the Dodgers are going to have to say, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. We just spent over $1 billion we committed to over $1 billion last offseason. Are they going to want to give more money? I don't know. However, the Red Sox, with the payroll flexibility that they have and the need for right-handed bats, especially with Tyler O'Neill probably heading elsewhere, in my opinion. Yeah, and them probably wanting a guy that's a bit more durable, a guy that's always hit well at Fenway Park. And also, talking about clubhouse presence, I feel like the Red Sox could use a bit more of that. Teoscar Hernandez is an absolute perfect fit for the Red Sox. I'm just saying. Now, the Orioles, let's touch on the Orioles here. I don't know about the Orioles because they got, Santander, he's going to be a free agent. And, he is a free agent. I mean, let's see. I feel like he is going to end up going elsewhere. I don't know. Is Teoscar the guy they bring in? I don't know. It feels... I don't know. Yeah, sure. Why not? But you got young guys there, right? You got Cowser, you got Kjerstad, you got Cedric Mullins out in center field. You got Enrique Bradfield Jr., who's on the cusp. He had a great year in the minors this year. That could be your next center fielder after Cedric Mullins. I don't know. I just feel like if you want to give playing time to Kjerstad and Cowser in the corners, is Teoscar, DH? Right? Maybe you can kind of shuffle them around. You got Ryan O'Hearn there. They've been doing the platoon thing, really. So I think Teoscar could fit. But again, when you look at the Orioles, really, they're just not really a team. Again, you don't know what's going to happen with the new ownership. But historically, are they a team that's going to go out there and drop big bucks? I don't know. I think you can make the case for Corbin Burns. But Teoscar, I don't know. It just feels off to me. Maybe it could happen. I just think the Red Sox have so many things going for them in this situation. And also, they were talking last offseason. It looked like both sides wanted to get a deal done. You were seeing Teoscar last offseason. You were seeing him, I think he followed what was the account? It was the Red Sox. What was it again? It was like the Red Sox Espanol account or something. Can anyone help me out with that? I remember he followed that, or when he was liking posts about him coming to the Red Sox. He looked like he was on board for coming here. And I ended up having a great year with the Dodgers. But I wonder if those feelings could still be there, right? And in the end, the Red Sox, they just weren't in a position last offseason where they felt like they weren't there as an organization to really splurge on a guy where he was coming off kind of a downer of a year. Remember last offseason, when they were talking about Teoscar, there were people out there saying, I don't know, Teoscar? High strikeouts? Is this really a guy you want to bring in? Oh, now I think everyone's mind has changed on that. I think he would be a perfect fit. He hits well at Fenway Park. He's always hit well at Fenway. It just makes so much sense. I predict the Red Sox to sign Teoscar. I think if there's a slam dunk free agent offensively this year for the Red Sox, it's Teoscar Hernandez. We'll just have to wait and see, though. We'll have to wait and see. But everyone, we are gonna wrap this up here for tonight. And I gotta look at it. Here we go. Is this the right one? That's the right one? Okay, I'm still figuring out the new software that I'm using. But everyone, thank you so much for coming out here tonight. The first stream on Fenway Faithful. Again, I've been wanting to do a Red Sox focused channel for a long time, and I'm glad that we're finally getting it started here. It feels good. We're going to be doing a lot of streams here on this channel. This is going to be a big streaming channel. There will be videos as well where I'll take like highlights from streams and, doing other videos and stuff too. But we're talking all things Red Sox here all the time. I'm excited about it. We got a fun off season coming up. But everyone, thank you for stopping by here tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat from my main channel here. Thank you again, everyone. Have yourself a great night. We're going to be back here more this week, right? Check out for tomorrow. If really there's just news to talk about, we will be live here on this channel talking about it. But everyone, thank you again. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. And if you are new, think about subscribing. But everyone, have a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.